afternoon, everybody, and welcome to What Freedom Costs. So, for those of you who don't know me, actually, before I introduce myself, what's about to happen? We are going to introduce ourselves. So, the curators and all of the artists are going to introduce themselves, just to tell you all a little bit about who they are, and they're going to point out their work on the wall. And then once we do the introductions, we're actually going to move into performances because we actually have had some good time for you all to walk around and see all of the pieces. If you haven't done that, that's okay. You'll have time. We'll literally have intermission and some downtime for you to be able to walk and see everything. After those performances and after that small break, then we're going to move into a panel where we are going to be able to talk directly to the artists and also talk to some special guests that we have, folks who have been impacted directly by the criminal legal system. And then we'll have some Q&A time. So that's how we're going to spend our time today. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to find one of us and we will answer them for you. But for those of you who do not know me, my name is Felicia Henry Conte. I am one of the co-curators of What Freedom Costs. I'm going to let Nandi introduce herself and then I'll talk about some of the background of the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nandi K, and my exhibit is over there. I'm the founder of Nature is Balm.
Cool. So, What Freedom Costs is actually, I want to say at this point, 2.5 years in the making. So, I am also an assistant professor here at American University in the Department of Sociology, and my research focuses on this intersection of race, disasters, and art and activism. And so for my dissertation, I started working with Black women who were under community supervision, that's probation, parole, electronic monitoring. And as I started to interview them, I was really struck by this idea of like not freedom or unfreedom. And so they talked about the fact that, yes, while they were no longer incarcerated and even while they were on active supervision, and then once they completed supervision, they were never really free because the criminal legal record or this kind of criminal record followed them no matter where they went. If they wanted to get housing or employment, or if they even wanted to go to a conference, it was always there in the background. And so that idea of not really freedom stuck with me. And then as I moved into new interviews with folks who were just across the board involved in the legal system, that same theme kept coming up. And so I started to think like, what is freedom if it's not really free, right? What is freedom for real for folks who are involved in the legal system? And then Nandi and I had been doing work over the course of those 2 years, specifically with Nature's Balm, and she's gonna talk a little bit about that. But as I started to kind of think about the possibilities of what freedom looks like, and then especially as we were getting into the anniversary of the United States, 250 years next year, I was like, oh, what would it look like to explore the idea of living in the afterlife of slavery, to live in the afterlife of social control institutions like slavery, like the criminal legal system, and how might we be able to explore that? So Nandi and I came together to do What Freedom Costs and then started to think about who are the other voices that we could also pull in. So I'm gonna hand the mic over to Nandi so that she can talk about Nature's Balm and all of the things that inspired her to be here, and then we're gonna hand over the mic to all of the artists.
In addition to what Felicia shared, Nature's Balm started out as a personal, I guess you would say, journal, right? God had put me on this intense healing journey, one that I did not want to go on, but he forced me down to my knees. I had to surrender. And through that journey, I was able to reconnect with myself in ways that I hadn't done before. And mostly that was done through travel. And travel is one of the ways that I find myself to be grounded and to heal more. And one of the places or the continent that I'm most comfortable in and where I feel the most energy to do that is in Africa. So he had sent me on several trips, but the last one was to Africa, and I spent at that point 5 weeks there just by myself, roaming around and figuring things out. And through that journey, I was able to uncover more of the things that were impacting me mentally, emotionally, and spiritually that I had to undo. If you get over there and you actually look at the exhibit, also the book that's over there, feel free to pick it up and open it and read it, because what's on the exhibit wall is also in the book, so that if you don't want to go close to the wall, you can pick up the book and just look at it. But you'll read in there how what I was going through impacted me in a very difficult way. and how God had led me to a place where I was able to reconnect to myself and my ancestry and just like tap in. So through that journey, I went to Senegal and the Gambia and was able to find myself in a way that I hadn't found myself before, connected with people that really touched my heart, and I was able to feel community in a way that I hadn't felt before, one that I didn't have to really go out and seek. It kind of was just like there. And so through Nature is Balm, my focus is to provide that same healing, that same discovery, that same ancestral reconnection, and to bring people there so that they are able to experience freedom in a different way. And as Felicia was saying, like, what does it look like post-slavery for us? I feel that many of us may not return to Africa because we have been told so many things about Africa, how it's just too far, it costs too much, or you're not welcome there, or they're not really your family. They're, all the things that we've been fed. And I shared with someone earlier, like when I go to Africa, the way that they portray Africa to us here about like the poverty and stuff, it's not really like that. And then you also see that there's in Gambia, like there's no homelessness because they believe in community. No one sleeps outside of a home. If you need a place to stay, they'll welcome you into your home. They'll give you their bed for you to sleep on. So I think for us to be able to see that in a different context where we're not fighting in such a way about how we do here. Everything is individualism. Pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. Where's the community to help you do all of that? You see that there's more of a community aspect in Africa, and I think I want more people to experience that at a deeper level.
I'm going to pass the mic like a cipher, and I'm going to start with Eve. And I want all of the artists, please introduce yourself, tell us what your medium is, and just tell us a little bit about like your journey to this moment.
How's everybody doing? My name is Kishada Denny, but I go by Ife. I'm originally from Watts, Los Angeles. Came to the East Coast in 2016. Been here for about 8 years now. I'm a poet. I'm a rapper. I'm a painter. My work is the work with the flag in front of the mirror. What brought me to this moment? I mean, I come from a family who's had to endure and survive the crack epidemic. Parents who had to navigate the carceral apparatus, and me myself as a young person had to navigate what it meant to navigate, criminal justice contact. And my father got deported when I was about 13 years old, and that led me on a journey where my art became like my healing vessel. And from there, I started to explore what it meant to be Black here in a Western state. And my introduction to this work is Trayvon Martin. And I was about 22 years old, and at that point hadn't yet conceptualized, thought about what it meant to grow up in Watts, have to navigate all those socioeconomic conditions, and it led me here. And now, I do this work domestically, internationally, but right now my heart is in youth justice, and it's taking me inside of carceral facilities in New York City, and also leading out initiatives to help move those young people forward.
Hello, my name is Lillian. I am the 4 portraits that are on linen, like around the corner, with all the words. I'm a Black historical artist, is the term I have decided to coin for myself, which basically means I do a lot of stuff in Black history. I'm from Texas, and my parents are from Indiana, so I had a very interesting upbringing, I will say, where I like the Texas school system. A lot of stuff is redacted as opposed to what my parents learned. So there was a lot of times my mom would be like, well, that's just wrong, and make me do real research. So a lot of my work is looking at archives, museums, going to historical sites, talking to people, and just asking them, like, what was it like? And trying to figure it out and piece it together. And so my portraits are called The Runaways. They are portraits of runaway slaves based off of the descriptions provided from the runaway advertisements that people used to place in newspapers, and to kind of go with like the notion of the whole show of what freedom costs. For those individuals specifically, it costs them their identity. I will preface, those paintings are completely incorrect. I don't know what those people look like, and I don't know what happened to them, but that is what I think they look like based off the very little information. So it's kind of going, even now, a lot of times when you're trying to work your way towards freedom, you have to give up like your identity, a part of who you are, in order to gain it, which is not fair because not everybody has to do that. So that's where I am with this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Deja Adeni. My art is not on the walls. My art is within me. I'm an actress. Um, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, how do I answer this question? I feel there's so many layers and so many directions that you can go. So I'll say right now I'm in a place of still finding it and becoming more clear within myself, sharing myself, and being present within communities like this, to receive and to be a sponge.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alora. Coming from Virginia, repping down south, the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. My two pieces are these black and white pieces right here from my series, Standing in Your Light. My two sisters here, Ade and Amara. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I do just about anything, but painting and illustration is my heart and soul. And my current work is a exploration of not only the things around me, but within me, taking color from my work, stripping it down, and exploring ideas of freedom and expression and spirituality, and kind of getting to the nitty gritty of it, telling my story my way through an Afrofuturistic lens, having some hope and bringing all of that into it. I found out about this amazing work that these two ladies have been doing through Instagram. Literally, it came on my timeline. I read it and I was like, wow, like this is so beautiful, so amazing. Like, I would love to be a part of this. And applied, got accepted, and just months of hearing about their stories and what they were building here and what they had been building, it just aligned so perfectly and was really, it came at a perfect time. Such a beautiful moment, and just very excited to be here and connecting with all of these other artists, stalking y'all's social media and seeing like how amazing all of you are. Saw you perform last week and was like, oh my goodness, God put you in the right place at the right time every time. So found this by the grace of God and so very, very blessed and immensely grateful to be here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aaliyah Pierre Cranston. I do quite a few things, but today I'll be doing spoken word. I would say I've been doing spoken word for a very long time. And honestly, when you do a lot of spoken word shows, the theme is, you know, who are you? Who are you as a Black woman? And so I've had to explore this topic for a very long time. And I think, you know, living in America, you just naturally experience things that you should not experience, even at a young age. I will say the first memory that I have of racism in America was when my mom and I was shopping, school shopping at American Exchange. I was like 13 years old, and the security guard followed us throughout the entire store the entire time. Um, and my mom turned around and was like, I will never again shop in this store. And we never went back in any Armani Exchange. But I think that's when my story began. And that's when I started really seeing how horrible of a place America really is. So that's my journey. And yeah.
So Frankie and Avery, if you just want to come over here, Tashoy is already over here. But if you also want to come and introduce yourselves, so these three folks are folks who are directly impacted by the criminal legal system and are going to talk to you about their experiences, some of which are actually captured over there on those panels. So my kind of part of the visual exhibit are actual direct quotes from folks during their interviews talking about the experience of being in the criminal legal system. So some of them are actually literally here in the flesh, which I think is really dope, so they can say their own stories. But yes, I'm gonna pass the mic to y'all. Y'all can tell us who you are, where you're from, and then your own journey here.
Hi, my name is Tashoy Miller. I'm from Queens, New York. My journey here, how did you find me? That is such a good question. I have no clue. I have no clue how she found me a while back. But somehow our work crossed paths. I'm just as impacted, and I currently work in New York City in the criminal justice reform and politics space. So I think that was how we crossed paths. And I think like I got into that work. I just wanted to help the women that I felt like I left behind. I think when I was incarcerated, I realized that I had like a lot of support and like a lot of things that I noticed a lot of women didn't have. And I feel like all my life I took all of that stuff for granted. And so I felt like when I had the chance to go home, I just wanted to pay it forward. So I kind of just came home and I found myself in places and spaces where I was able to do that.
My name is Avery Muldrow. I'm 35 years old. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. I served a 10-year sentence with a life term on supervised release. I met Miss Felicia doing community health work. She came to interview some of my participants. Loved her spoken word. I loved her ability to connect with the men. So I'm here and I'm looking at the art, and it definitely expressed a lot of things that I'm feeling. This is my founder of the organization I work for, Frankie Roberts. But I expressed to him earlier that that's life on papers right there. That who work is that right there? Which one? The flag with the caution.
Brittany Scott, the flag with the caution,
Yeah, that's life on papers to me. Like the illusion of freedom. Like I'm out here, I'm in front of y'all, but I'm not living the life y'all living. I'm walking in a minefield. Your average ticket might get me 10 to 12 months in prison. An altercation might get me life in prison. So the places that we're making decisions from, they're totally different. So I'm gonna let y'all hear from my founder.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Frankie Roberts, and I am from Wilmington, like Brother Avery. One of the things I will say about Wilmington that most people probably don't know, in 1898, it was the only coup d'etat or overthrowing of the government that happened in American history. I came to the work not as a person that went to prison, but a person who grew up in a household with a brother who went to Vietnam and found himself struggling with a heroin addiction. And when he got out of the military, he moved back in the household with my parents and my other brother. And his story and his situation took all of my attention away when I was 8 years old. And then he found himself in prison, and then, which was my day of triumph, at least I thought. But my parents made me go to visitation every Sunday. So my brother was the thorn in my side. At some point, I came to myself and recognized that if it wasn't for God's grace, that could have been me. The day I decided to go and apologize to him for all of the times of unforgiveness, on my way to apologize, he died. And as a result, I became the co-founder of an organization called Leading into New Communities, which is an organization that provides support for people returning from prison, especially to have substance use. So our biggest part of our program is housing and certainly youth development. And so that's what brought me here today. And I thank you for the opportunity to share.
So a big round of applause for everybody, for everybody. So we're gonna get into more, and everyone in this space, y'all are gonna have opportunities to ask direct questions. And I really want y'all to be intentional. Like, y'all have folks in this space, so ask them questions, engage, think about the things that you want to talk about. So right now we're going to move into performances. So get comfortable. You might want to come over here. If you're over there, you might want to stay. You might want to get even more comfortable on the steps. But we're going to move into performances. We're going to perform here, 4 performances in a row, and then we're going to take a short break. If you look on the wall, it says undisciplinary artist, because I feel like right now in my creative journey, I want to open as many avenues as possible. So instead of restricting myself to a specific discipline, I want to just be massive, be unfinished, be like big, right? Because I've been playing small for a very, very long time. So, but I'm gonna do 2 poems for you, 2 spoken word pieces. I birthed him. But before I got a chance to love him, they hearsed him. Locked him into a box of socially constructed ethnicity, never truly to be free again, no matter what policy said. Regulated to state of second-class citizen, where by 4th grade, the seat that he was sitting in only translated to his jail cell. I birthed him. But I wish my womb would have held him a little bit longer, or maybe not at all, so he wouldn't have been subjected to the constant thoughts of who his pallbearers would be, or the name of the cemetery where he'd be buried. I carried him for a term of 9, and now the state's carrying mine for a term of life, ironically so, because there's none in him. His coffin was mahogany, just like his skin, and now it and my kin are buried 6 feet underground, buried under the sound of the tune that they were made for it. Someone, please tell me why black body keeps hitting black earth, killed by white boy, covered in white worth, backed by green president. Someone tell me how the ambivalence about a black boy being murdered by a white system transcends all kinds of lines. In a supposedly colorblind society, black still gets left in the box, unused, untouched, because how can something beautiful come from something like that anyway? But perhaps the actual tragedy is not that my son will join the list of names buried in the graveyard of white supremacy, or that he won't be the last, but that ultimately he was responsible for his own death. She birthed him and her, but they were all responsible for their own deaths, that from their final resting places, they were to apologize for being too dumb, too loud, too free, too proud, too open, too serious, too closed, too mysterious, too yes, too no, too fast, too slow, too beastly, too untamed, too body, too unnamed, that a mother must apologize to her child's killer for carrying out a well-needed task, losing the last bit of grass she had on her dignity. But perhaps the greatest tragedy is the question spoken from black and brown lips that asks, why? Why were you alive? She was tired. And that was justification enough to remove the object of her bondage. They call it an ankle monitor. But it engulfs more than feet and chains and controls more than movement. What do you do when the 4 walls of your home imprison you as well as any carceral facility could? When your fridge is transformed into the mess hall where people tell you what you can consume, when your living room is converted into the day room where mindless entertainment becomes a coveted escape from reality, when your bathroom becomes the showers and toilets where traces of yourself are wiped away with each use, when your bedroom becomes a prison cell and you make roommates with intrusive thoughts and feels like there's never enough room to breathe, when your hallways and doors become the threshold where freedom is on the other side that you can't really cross. Tell me, what do when freedom ain't really free? When devices clasped to body parts bear eerie reminders of shackles on ships and plantations, when overseeing ancestors and forefathers take after, what do you do? 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 She was tired. And that was justification enough to remove the object of her bondage and run, to create a life outside of the restriction, even though she knew what it would mean when she got caught, that she would dare to tap into a legacy of resistance, that dares to believe that we are more than the enslaved, that she decided that it was worth it, that being on the run was better than being still in the 4 walls that enclosed her, that looking over her shoulder was a fair exchange for the air that would greet her face when she did, that being a wife was a more honorable role than being a parolee, that for once, the only voice that she would listen to was her own. She was tired. And that was justification enough to remove the object of her bondage and be free. This performance is so interesting because it's such an embodied experience that I'm like, oof, I'm gonna need to cool down. I'm so hot. I'm hot. So those 2 pieces, I don't usually actually name my pieces, but The first one was called Generations, and the second one was called Ashley. So the second one is actually based on a woman that I interviewed who was under parole. She served 12 years in prison and then got off and still needed to serve another 8 years under supervision. And when she was first released, they released her with an ankle monitor and told her that she had 90 days maximum on it. And then she was on it for, I want to say, 4 years. And every time that she went and said, hey, like, it's time to get this ankle monitor off, they would say, no, it's not time, no, it's not time. And she would ask, but why, and they would never give her an answer. And so she lived this life that was literally restricted to her front door and back door. And I want to be explicit, when I say front door and back door, I really mean the doors. She could not even cross the threshold, like over the front door or over the back door. So she was on this ankle monitor during COVID. And so obviously we all remember COVID, especially the lockdown period, and what it felt like to be like isolated in your home. So now imagine literally everything is on lockdown and you can't even go to your front porch to get some air. And so I wrote that poem inspired by her story, and specifically inspired by what it means. So when we talk about the concept of freedom, what it means where spaces that are supposed to be neutral or quote unquote free, like our homes, are transformed into these carceral spaces again, or as well. And so it was replicated not only from the carceral facility that she left, but then literally in this space that's supposed to be safe, that's supposed to be sacred. So when we think about this concept of freedom and what freedom costs, when we think about someone leaving incarceration and what that might mean in terms of celebratory, and we're like, oh yeah, it's better than this, better than that. What does it actually mean? What does freedom cost? What does it look like? What does it mean to transform these spaces? And now these spaces become extensions of social control. And then the first one really just talks, first poem, really just talks about this idea of the generations, the fact that when we think about freedom, when we think about social control, it is not just linked or isolated to one person. It extends throughout families, extends throughout generations, extends really throughout entire legacies. And so what does that mean to reckon with it? And what does that mean both from the perspective of folks who are within the community, but also outside? So I'll stop talking there. Y'all can ask me questions later. But now we're gonna move into the second performance. So I'm gonna call Deja up to the stage. She's gonna get mic'd up. But yeah, thank y'all so much.
One thing I don't need is any more apologies. I got sorries greet me in my front door. You can keep yours. I don't know what to do with them. They don't open doors or bring the sun back. They don't make me happy or bring a morning paper. Didn't nobody stop using my tears to wash cars because of sorry. I am simply tired of collecting. I didn't know I was so important to you. I'm gonna have to throw some away. I can't get to the clothes in my closet, all the sorries. I'm gonna tag a sign to my door. If you call to say you're sorry, call someone else. I don't use them no more. I let sorry, didn't mean to, and how could I have known about that? Take a walk down a dark and musty street in Brooklyn. I'm gonna do exactly what I want to. And I'm not gonna be sorry for none of it. Let a sorry soothe your soul. I'm gonna soothe mine. You are always inconsistent. Doing something, then being sorry. Beating my heart to death talking about you sorry. Well, I will not call. I will not be nice. I will raise my voice and scream and holler and break things and race against the edge. I will play Oliver Lake loud, and I will tell all your secrets about yourself to your face. And I will not be sorry for none of it. I loved you on purpose. I was open on purpose. I still crave vulnerability and close talk. And I'm not even sorry about you being sorry. You can keep all the guilt and grime you wanna. Just don't give it to me. I can't use it. I can't use another sorry. Next time, you should admit you're mean, low down, trifling, and no count. Straight out. Instead of being sorry all the time, enjoy being yourself. Thank you.
Can I tell y'all a secret? I don't know how to share it, but it's eating at my insides like my organs of pumpkin pie on grandmother's Sunday dinner table. See, some my kind will call this secret a fable. Monkeys who yelled victim or legend of the oppressed baboons, but no, not me. See, this is real to me, and well, I'm afraid that if I share the secret, y'all are gonna hold me accountable. See, I'm scared that if I come clean, I'll be hanged like a freshly hand-washed brassiere worn by a black woman who lost her firstborn to a bullet that had their name on it. I messed up. I wasn't supposed to tell you that bullets do have names. Names that sound like Philando, Brianna, and Trayvon. Since that's out, I might as well come clean. Secret is, we will never respect you. We marvel at your delusion of the belief that you're free, when you're comfortable at the bottom of the food chain with an illustrious master's degree. We will never respect you. We watch with pity as some of you spend pennies on things you can't afford and maintain our zen when we find Michael Kors on Michael's corpse. We will never respect you. We see you as seafood boil, crabs in a barrel, clawing your way to the surface to simply peek over Pride Rock, only to be knocked right back down by a stampede of people who look just like you. And your kids, oh my God, your kids. They are so unwise. They willingly incriminate themselves by adding a confession to a beat. How to Catch a Shooter, the musical. Perhaps you should drill into them the importance of uplifting your community, of seizing opportunities to thrive, promoting unity, but no, instead, you invite us to your cookouts, to sip your Kool-Aid, and rap along to Jim Jones. We throw on a fitted and a pair of Timbs, and boom, you take us and trade your own. Look, hold on, wait. I know this may be a little bit much. It's hard to digest, isn't it? Don't even get me started on what we feel about your religion, your denominations, the Kojics, the Baptists, the AMEs alike. We watch you argue back and forth about which way is more righteous. I just have questions. Y'all are outraged that we want to remove your history from textbooks, but why? You have social media now. Your timelines and your web browsers, they're filled with history of videos that you've shared of your people being publicly eradicated like contestants in Squid Games. Player 456, Sandra Bland, eliminated. Player 622, Alton Sterling, eliminated. A bunch of players playing against a system that was designed to eliminate you from the beginning. We don't like you. Hold on, wait. That's not true. It's not all of us. I could never be racist. Come on, I have black friends. They vacation with my family in the Hamptons. In fact, I'm thrilled when I greet them every morning. How's it going, nigger? I mean, neighbor. Where was I? Hey, you were actually about to pass the mic to me, bruh. Because I got a secret too. But unlike you, I'm ready to air it out like I'm on the stand, Bible in hand, because I refuse to let it eat at my insides like my organs are turkey wings on Nana's Sunday dinner table. See, I ain't never scared.
And y'all can hang me high and wave me like the white American flag. Y'all can whip red and blue scars into my skin, and y'all can punch me till I see stars. But guess what? I'ma spit my truth. Secret is, we don't need your respect. We body everything we touch, even with your foot on our necks. And while you focus on our degrees and how we spend our dues, we revel in the fact that we were diminished, erased, abused, and still managed to build HBCUs. Bro, we know you don't like us because you're intimidated. See, we've indefinitely sedated your egos once we reminded you of our history. See, there was a time when our ancestors were wealthy just like you. Black Wall Street, you remember what envy made you do? See, you lied, you screamed, you fought, you tried to cremate everything we own. Gee whiz, you forgot to take our pride. You forgot we built this on our own. Brick by brick, we built a place for you and your family to live. And newsflash, buddy, we even built your kids. We went from niggers to nannies. I don't think you heard me. We went from niggers to nannies. You need us to raise your offspring. Never bite from the hand that feeds you. Never forget your kids, they're our ducklings. And our kids, well, why don't you ask Jack Harlow how something that our kids created catapulted him to fame? And you can ask Eminem, Iggy Azalea, Post Malone. Damn, it's just too many to name. Now let's dive into religion. Y'all remember Jesus Christ? Whipped, chained, hanged, died, resurrected, and now they say his name? Stardom. That reminds me of us. We saved you, you're welcome. But we're seafood. Okay, you're guppies, we're sharks. No matter how hard you try to finish us, we will eat till we rise like Maya. Electric slide our way across bridges like Marty and hit 'em up style like Brother X. See, now I have a question. Y'all designed a government to be run by whites, right? How the hell did we manage to take that? This is Obama's nation. And what an abomination for you to believe that we rock with you more than our own. You can't even sit with us. You can't sit with us. You can't even eat our bones. See, I start to glitch when I think about America, KKK, the gang, and how red flags were swapped for red ties and all the bloodsheds by the Democrats. Oh, my. I feel like I've said a lot and still feel like I've said nothing. Because the truth is, there aren't any amount of spoken words that can amount to the pride that I have in my people. See, our story goes from glory to glory. We are the beginning and the end, just like him. Secret is, hey, you probably right, bruh. You ain't like them, and they ain't like us, but neither are you. So do me a favor. The next time you want to share a secret, don't. Thank you.
With those inner thoughts and beliefs of what we feel, they feel about us, it causes a lot of anger. And so I wanted to get all of that out. And so as I was writing the piece from the other perspective, my wife was just like, yo, you are wilding right now. And I'm talking and I'm saying some things and it was hitting me. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Talking to myself, like, yo, that's crazy. So I knew that my counter voice, which is the voice of us, had to be even stronger. What are things that we want to say to them that we don't get to say? Not because we're scared, but because we just don't have spaces and opportunities to. Like, as much as we want to go up to our coworker, and we can't, right? So, we can, but we wouldn't. So this is what that was about. Just writing the voice from every perspective and making sure that when speaking to us, I highlighted areas where people tend to ignore because I'm tired of talking about the struggle. We know that we've struggled. We know what our history is. How did we overcome that? And what are ways that we're surviving through that in America?
How everybody doing? I'm Brittany Scott. My pieces are the three that's over there. I name them different things all the time. Whatever's on that wall, you could just go by that. I like to just, I thank the beautiful women who accepted me to be into the exhibition because a lot of these pieces were denied a lot of times, you know. I guess they might have been too deep for some people, but it tells the story of who we are, how far we came, where we are today, and it's something that even if someone tries to erase it, it's gonna always be there in our minds, you know. So I use the caution tape because I grew up in an urban community. I'm from here in Southeast DC, and we've all seen that, you know, a lot of times. You know, when we see caution tape, it's not good, you know. So it represents the things that, you know, we've almost become accustomed to because of the neighborhoods or, you know, what we've been through, or we have relatives that live in those areas too. So the caution tape just brings out the message. When we see it, we know to go the other way. And so it happens a lot. It happens often, too often. And when we see it and find out it's us against us, you know, it's killing, it's robbing, so I brought it to a canvas to show that it's not, we gotta change, you know. And I've always was told that be the change that you wish to see in the world. So growing up in Southeast DC, everybody always have said it, how you so positive, you know, or you growing up in Southeast, how is it that you're this type of way? And I'm like, I'm not a product of my environment, but I'm productive in my environment. And so these pieces, you know, it shares that. It tells the story. Black Panthers, we're not always happy with the cops, but we do call 911 if we need them. And they come. And so, you know, some of the cops that work in the area, they may not be from the area, but, you know, they have a system. And so they are taught to do one thing, and that's, well, serve and protect. You know, we know that, but we kind of at this thing where they don't always protect, but they might serve. So every cop's not bad. Every white person's not bad. Every black person's not bad. And so these pieces, they share that. And I hope you all enjoyed it.
So I'm going to do a poem called A Mother's Tear that's inspired by some work that I've been able to do in New York City, where I had the opportunity to work closely with a young person who ended up getting incarcerated, and due to the work that we were doing, I had a conversation with their mom, and so the poem was written in that container. I'm also going to share a verse from one of my songs that speak to the nature of the work that's happening, that I'm doing in Horizons, that I've been able to do at Los Padrinos, which is a carceral facility, juvenile hall out of Los Angeles. And then I'll end with a song, and then we'll take it from there. For starters, I want to say I've written too many poems like this. Poems that feel like this. Mothers keep calling me, crying in tears, wet fingertips. They seek through phone lines, they fall on shoulder blades. They seek through clothing, no matter the material. They are resilient and heavy, like real heavy. And I learned when you lift them, it creates a tone. I need mom to know I care. Tears have voice, they say I'm tired. They say I feel this pain too often. I feel pain too often. Say things like, really do I have help? More like, don't nobody else care enough? And she said, my daughter said that you care enough. She said, I see it, she smiles more. And I'm asking mom to speak up because I can't hear her voice is absent. And when children need assistance, when there's no booth to change from human to superhero, too much is at stake. Violent things happen, things like walls, bars, COs, wardens act as parents. They begin to raise our children. They teach a culture to our kids that says freedom is toxic, that movement is privilege, that passivity is patriotic. They teach them that underemployment is okay, as if second chances are merely a reminder that people are breathing without steel boot on neck. It makes me angry, sometimes I cry. You see mistakes when they're made by black boys, black girls get treated with a dagger to the jugular, and while I know this, ask her daughter to speak up. I guess I'm hopeful she'll be heard one day. Mother's voice is cracking, man, I heard her clearly, loudly enough. She said my daughter was placed on Rikers. She said my daughter was placed on Rikers, and not because she's criminal, because what's that? But because we know it takes a village and very few have one, we get lost trying to find our way. Somebody tell her daughter, I said, she is not alone. Poor reloaded arms, no love was supposed to calm them. Cocaine containers dispersed and ain't no karma. The legend of brave man who rode without no armor. The roses was laid on grass, but I am forever honored enough to tell their stories. I hope that he heard trauma, I pray. Been praying for honest smiles, the spirit been dodging summer for the kids at Los Padrinos, stolen off GT Dinos who heard those gavels drop and think that their time was final. This shit go back to cassette tapes. This shit go back to vinyls. 80-pound bodies hanging from southern vines. I finally understood at the age of the 25, it's a really dangerous thing when the state choose to deny truths that make us meek with no pride. I hope they see them. They go to mirror, so voila. No matter who you pray to, nigga, Jesus or Allah, the truth gon' pop out. Red, white, and blue on the sleeve, and ain't no shot clock. Got all the time you need to see your honor. Black waters, black bodies for the commas. Bodies swinging, white watches for the drama. I'm like, how they gon' treat it like it just fell out the sky though? Was 9 in tribal, misguided rivals, the truth make hate, even my own. I'm here to drown out they noise and play them these songs. I'm here to paint them these pictures and show them they wrongs. I'm here to act on my dreams, I'm not on my own. It's just me and her in the garden singing alone, hoping it echoes to the blind so we easy to find. We got love on the vine, if we eat it we fine. Huddle up, no wasting time, I'm just seeing it now. That's cause they rocked it up and served to the town. Was 13 without a book in my reach, I'm just reading them now. And now it's 2012, hoodie on, the hot as hell, but it's worth it. Revolution all on the surface, Trayvon gave me a purpose, nigga. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall. It's on the wall. Yeah. 33 on the noun and mama's proud cuz got all the homies in the prison getting riled up. Got kicked out cause I was teaching George Jackson from the bleachers. I was really getting even. Mama, I think they need it. I think they need it. I said, Mama, I think they need it though. I think they need it. I was really getting even, yo. The path less traveled, that's how I grew up. On that long dark road, I picked up tulips, heard Hampton speak. I learned about Judas, the system, and how they praising they rulers. Man, they had X in the window holding that tulip. Said halfway through it, I stopped and then I threw up all the shit that they taught us that fucked the crew up. Like really, really. This is the making of a comrade. It's on the wall. Thank you.
One more time for Deja, for Ife, for Aaliyah. One more time. Y'all could do a little bit better than that. Come on, y'all. Performance, I mean, getting in front of people to do your art is a lot. It takes a lot. putting your art on the walls, just literally opening yourself for other people. It's a lot. So one more time, y'all, just one more time. It's a lot. Hopefully y'all are starting to get the essence of what Nandi and I tried to create, which essentially is that freedom has many different interpretations, right? And when you are someone who is of the African diaspora and you're trying to make sense of freedom, you are both pulling and tugging and negotiating with the fact that freedom isn't really free and has been codified in everything that this country stands on, but you also are pulling with the tension that, especially with work like Nandi's, that you can create freedom for yourself, right? What does it mean to actually heal and have joy, right? Nandi be skinning her teeth, just be living her life on the trips, right? But what does it mean to reconnect and have these spaces where you're starting to dream again, believe again, be again, all those things. So yeah, hopefully y'all are understanding what y'all picking up what we putting down here. Anything you want to say for the people?
510, everyone. Come back.
I am going to ask each of you to just talk about your journey into the criminal legal system. And obviously, Frankie, you shared a little bit about your story, that it wasn't necessarily directly you, but just talk to us about what the material experience is actually like, right? Instead of what we see on TV or in the movies or when we're binging Law and Order, like what does that actually mean? And in the context of freedom, what does freedom actually mean to you? So I'm going to start with you, Troy, and then you can pass the mic.
First and foremost, I joined the gang at the age of 14, trying to escape authority, not really respecting what my mother and father was trying to instill in me. After joining the gang, I moved to New York, probably at the age of 17. Got into the mix, did everything my way. I went to Rikers Island for probably about 18 months. First time ever really going to jail. Went on the run from the Bronx for a year. Moved to North Carolina. I received a 10-year sentence for life on probation for distribution of heroin. Through that walk in prison, it's definitely it's a hectic situation. It's a fine line between making it home and not making it home. But I'm actually grateful for it because it allows me to meet men that I would have never met with a certain mind frame that's not in our community. The wisdom that I found in these men definitely set me on the path that I want. After my incarceration, after my release, I decided to go into community health work, trying to mitigate violence in my community, being one of the number one contributors to the destruction of my community. I decided to take part in an organization called True Colors. We attempted to end gang violence in Wilmington, North Carolina. There was some highs and lows. Eventually, the company shut down, and I went to work for Mr. Frankie Robinson. And working with the youth, I see a lot of them, a lot of me in them, a lot, almost I did. To the point of actually having a conversation with my son and him actually experiencing the same feelings and emotions I experienced 20 years later. In relations to being out here navigating all these different situations, on top of that, it's life probation. And that's a whole different thing to navigate. Like, you have to literally walk on eggshells every day of your life. Just to be here, I had to get a pass. I had to fill out a permission form. A regular conversation can turn left, and you gotta damn near bite your tongue when you know you want to say something. You know you want to, advocate for somebody that needs to be advocated for. Just that situation in Wilmington, North Carolina, it's like there's a lot of things that need to be addressed that I can't address because my freedom is on. To come here and hear some of the things that these artists are expressing, like without even knowing it, they're being a voice for people that can't speak. It's not that these people are voiceless; they just can't. They got a voice less. Like they gotta take their time and be strategic about their approach about everything. Everything's meticulous when it comes to your freedom, because if you don't have it, everything you value, you're gonna lose it. I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen I work with, and he was like, going in there, while we're in there, we have everything to gain and nothing to lose. But when we come home, we got everything to lose and nothing to gain. Like, and the number one thing we want is freedom. Like, we want to be able to express ourselves. We want that good life. We want the life to where I'm doing what I want to do. But to get home, I gotta accept shackles that don't allow me to do what I want to do. And it's like a double-edged sword. Comply, or, get back in. And I'd rather comply and sacrifice my free will to push my community in the right direction. Yeah, it's a tough thing to navigate, but us as men, from just out.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Because I don't know how many people know about supervision as much, but you said that you had to get a pass sign to come here. Can you explain briefly just how much advance notice do you have to put in to get that permission for you to even come to an event like this? And what does that process actually look like for you?
For me to travel off of the East Coast of North Carolina to Cairo, Charlotte, and like where those areas, I have to give 2 weeks and help. Yeah, that process is me putting in flight information, address, who I'm traveling with, leaving, returning.
So literally every move you make, especially if you're leaving Wilmington, is documented.
Yes.
And they can be denied.
Yeah.
My name is Deshawn Miller, and I'm from Queens, New York. I think that my story is more of the cautionary tale I think every young girl here is growing up, avoiding the wrong crowd, avoiding the wrong man, and just being young, thinking you know everything, thinking that, yeah, my mama don't know what she's talking about, that's gonna be the man I'm gonna marry. I'm gonna do anything to make sure that we get to that point. Like, my mother don't know nothing. And that led me to taking a charge from him that fast forward, 8 years later, I'm not even with. So it's just like, looking back, it's like, was that really, the best decision? No, but I think, like he said, I don't regret going to jail. I don't think I would be where I am today if that didn't happen. I feel like in my early 20s, I was on a path to destruction. I think that if that didn't happen, I would either probably be dead or doing a long prison sentence right now. So I think that it saved me. It was a wake-up call, and I think like the first few months I was just like, oh, like I'm a bit loud, I'm back outside, like I'm doing the same stuff. And it was just like the months wasn't going by. Like, I got locked up in Mississippi. I was the only Black girl out there. They didn't give me a bail. Like, it was just like, you from New York City, you're not gonna come back. We're not giving you a bail. And it was just, I kept going to court. They kept denying my bail. And like, I was seeing her on the video camera. My mother's crying every day. Like, it was just the worst thing in the world. And I remember when I went to court, And they was like, you know, your offer is 15 years. And I was like, I'm not taking that. And my lawyer was like, no, don't take it. I called my mother. My mother's like, what do you mean 15 years? She's like, you're 24. Like, you don't have no kids. You just graduated college. Like, what do you mean 15 years? Like, that's not happening. And I was just like, mommy, like, I don't know. Like, they don't look like they letting me out. Like, we done been in here fighting this case over a year now. Like, mommy, I don't think I have a choice. My mother was like, no, don't take it. And I didn't take the offer, and then I went back to court, and they offered me 5 years probation and time served. And I was like, okay. I was scared though, because I felt like in that time that I was in the county jail, everybody that was coming in was for probation violation, and they were getting violated for the most like simple things, like a speeding ticket. Oh, they didn't check in, they were at work late and they missed a check-in. It was just, so I'm like, I know myself, like I'm a violate. And now when you violate, they were giving you all that back time. So if I violated, I would have to do that 5 years. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm scared to take this probation. I called my mother, and my mother was like, listen, you gonna take that probation? She's like, I don't care if they tell you you're gonna be on probation for the rest of your life. You gonna take that probation and you walking out the people's jailhouse. And I took that probation, and I came home and I was scared, because I was just like, everybody I encountered was on a probation violation, and they were going back to jail for long numbers. Like, if you caught a shoplifting charge, now you're going to jail for 10 years because you had a probation. It was just like, it was insane stuff, and I was so scared. And then my probation experience, it was like, my first probation officer, I got a lady that didn't speak English. So now it's like, I'm going to my check-in, she's speaking Spanish, I'm sitting there confused, like, what are we doing here? So then I'm trying to like find somebody, I'm like, can I get a manager? And like, she's like trying to talk, and I'm like, okay, like, can we use Google Translate? Like, she's like, you can't get another officer, I'm the officer you've been assigned, and we all have like big caseloads, and I'm just like, how is this supposed to benefit me? Like, how are you gonna help me get a job? How are you gonna help me do anything? Because you don't even speak English. And then they gave me another officer, and like one day I'm at work, and my mother called me, and she's like, the neighbor called and said there's cops at the house. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I don't know. Can you leave work? Can you leave work? My probation officer calls, and she's like, I'm here to do a random home visit, and if you're not here in 20 minutes, you'll get violated. It's the middle of the workday. What am I supposed to do? So then like my mother had to leave work. She's like trying to rush home to get up there before me. Like, and I think that's what they mean when they say like you're free, but you're not really free. Because your freedom is hanging in the limb of how the state is feeling, or how this person woke up feeling this morning. You had an argument with your man last night. You might wake up and feel like, listen, I don't care that you're at work and you can't leave in the middle of the workday. I just don't care about anything that anybody got going on. And that's really how the system is set up. Like, it was just a mess. Like, I remember my family helped me pay off all of my fines and fees. And then the officer in Mississippi called me, and he was like, it was like thousands of dollars. So they helped me. And he called me, and he was like, how did you pay for this? You don't have a job yet. And I'm like, I have family. My family didn't want me to get violated because I can't make this monthly payment, so they paid it in full. And they brought me back to court to prove that my family paid it. All the way in Mississippi. And it was just like little things like that I had to go through while on probation. And I was so glad last year when my probation finally ended. And it was like my family cried, because it was just such like a rocky journey of trying to get to the end, with knowing that like I have this time hanging over my head, and it's just like any little thing, like I'm gonna have to go to Mississippi State Prison. And Mississippi jail was already bad, so I'm like, I can't see that state prison. And I was definitely terrified of that, and I felt like I lived
5 years of my life like with a noose around my neck because it was just like you have to walk on eggshells every single day.
Can't follow that. But I will say she mentioned mama a couple of times. I like to give mamas a hand because it ain't nothing like mama. So I'll just be brief. While I've never been in prison, I was a traumatized child by a brother who spent time in prison and struggled with addiction, which landed me now. I co-founded an agency called Leading into New Communities in 2000. And with my brother, I never asked him, did he need any support when he was in prison, before he went to prison, when he got out of prison. And so one day God showed me if it wasn't for his grace, that could have been me. So what I want to just share real quickly is we've been doing this work now a little over 2 decades, for 25 years. And as I said, most of our work is in housing. We have a large residential campus where we converted an old jail into a transitional housing for people returning from prison. And we're getting ready to open a new campus as well to do the same. Forgiveness is the key, because the work that we do with people coming out of prison, the biggest barrier is people in unforgiveness. Sometimes we pretend like we are forgiving, but a lot of times I have cast disparaging feelings and thought that I was better than a person with a legal history. And so as a result, you know, there are certain things you do real subtly by not surrendering the one-up relationship. But we used to use that like I did with my brother. Man, you just a criminal. And I want to just impel upon us that, hey, the reason there's no homelessness in Gambia is because she say it's a community. And so the community, I feel like in my town, is that when a person come out of prison, it's my responsibility to ensure that that person got somewhere to stay. And when I don't do that, then I'm almost saying I might be, I'm a little better than you. Because if a person got need, that's when we're supposed to rise to the occasion. And what we have learned with doing this work over the last 25 years is sitting at certain tables in the community as a nonprofit agency, people treat the organization like a criminal. And so we're always having to defend our actions, our behavior. We reluctantly, as Avery said, have to decide not to stay in our place, because the institutions will very quickly treat you like you need to stay in your place. Boy, you don't even need to be at this table. And because you're at this table, you need to be quiet, because what we will do is take your funding away, and you don't want to do that. And so I just want to let us know, hey, man, we got to don't be like me, which was exercise a whole lot of unforgiveness. But let's always be forgiving, and let's recognize that people with legal histories rely on people who don't have legal histories to help navigate, to confront, and to demand that everybody should be treated equal. Thank you for allowing me to share.
So, Tashoy shared the fact that she was able to successfully complete probation and now is what we call off papers, right? But I know Avery is nice and soft-spoken, but I don't know if y'all heard him that he is on what he terms life on papers. And so I want you to actually break down what that means. Like, you're not saying life as in just throwing that out there. You actually need life.
Yeah, my release date from Life Term Supervisor Lease is 2099. I was charged and convicted for 4 counts of distribution of heroin. Never been to prison a day in my life. Yeah, that's that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Is it though? Like, can you like, a lawyer can't, like a good lawyer can't fight that? It just doesn't equate. I know you know, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it can, but you know, with federal supervision, I already exhausted all of my appeal rights. Everything from the circuit court to the Supreme Court. They say the judge has complete discretion. Just attacking the sentence, the judge has complete discretion to sentence me anywhere from 0 to 20, but the statute doesn't. It says it's at least 3, but it has no cap. So he was in his legal right to sentence me between 0 to 20 for imprisonment, and then whatever he felt like on top of that.
It's just from a policy, doesn't matter what I am. Policies, there's no way to appeal parole and probation sentences. As he just said, it's up to the judge. And so if the judge is having a bad day, okay day, as you mentioned earlier, had a fight with their significant other, there's so much discretion in the parole and probation spaces that I have interviewed people that are on federal parole for 20 years and state parole for life. And it's 2 different sets of rules. So the same person? Same person, convicted of state and federal crimes, we're talking federalism for us nerds, life parole for one set of rules and 20 years of parole on a different set of rules. So
That's crazy.
I know I have a lot of questions.
No, this is
It
I'm
doesn't make sense.
a
Yes,
professor. I
yes,
teach
yes.
this stuff already. It does not make sense. Yes.
Could the judge decide, listen, I'm revisiting this case, I want to.
There's no appeal. There's no appeal written into probation and parole.
And then also too, bias plays such a huge part in that, because you can, this is a black man we're talking about. You can do whatever you want and no one's gonna care. Like,
One thing I want to mention that my probation officers don't know what to do with me, because I never had a violation. It's just that they have to be able to stamp me personally. In the last 6 years, I had 7 different probation officers. It's like they have to gain a rapport with me to put me in for early termination. But by the time it's time for me to go in for early termination, they done quit and went to Raleigh, and it's like, what can you personally say about them? And they can't say anything. So, you know.
What you're really saying is every time there's a new officer that comes in to review you,
He basically resets.
they reset your review process.
Yeah, I need 18 months with that officer. Yeah, I need 8.
So I hope that, like, it's busting out brain, right? Right. Which is part of the reason why I love doing this work, because I think that one of the things that we don't recognize is how all of this functions. And we might hear probation, parole, we might hear incarceration, but we don't actually understand what does that mean in real life, the material experience. What does it mean, right? There's so many levels. There's federal probation, right? There is state probation, there's city probation, right? Like, there are all of these levels. There are, when you start to get into the weeds of felonies and misdemeanors and time served and time in the community and violations, right? And if you're hearing, like, you can get violated for something as simple as not checking in with your officer because you had to stay at work late. Sometimes, folks that I've interviewed, you got violated because your ankle monitor fizzed out. a shortage, and now because they tried to get you, like, buzz the ankle monitor at that time and it failed, that's a violation, right? Showing up late to an appointment because you had to catch 3 buses and all of them were delayed, that's a violation, right? And so you start not leaving the middle of your workday because your officer is at your house saying that it's time to check in, that's a violation, right? Being in a space like this with other people who have criminal records is a violation for many people, right? I've had women who have told me they've gone to conferences, right? Like spaces where there are other folks who are impacted by the system, and then the parole officer says, who all gonna be there? Who all gonna be there? It's like, how am I supposed to know random strangers? Well, if they got a criminal record, we need to get their name and put it down on file, because otherwise you are, quote unquote, with other criminals, which is a violation of your supervision, right? So honestly, like, and I want y'all to, keep engaging with this whole process, really to see the material experience of what it means to be involved in the criminal legal, the day-to-day, on-the-ground experience of what it means to be in limbo of freedom.
I got in a car accident, and that was technically a violation because I had to have police contact.
Right? And then, there are layers, right? Because then you're off of papers, but then there's this record. So then you try to get housing, and you're like, what's this, right? And all 3 of them, if you notice there's a theme, like, y'all all work in the advocacy space. Y'all all work in spaces with folks who are impacted by the justice system, and that lends some
Compassion
flexibility,
also.
right? Some compassion, right? Your employer might understand, and there's no like check the box, but what if they move into spaces that are not so friendly, right? Where as soon as the background check comes up, you gotta go.
I've had a job offer, and I was supposed to start training the next day, and I saw them calling me the day before, so I'm like, oh, they're probably just calling for something. I answered, and the guy was like, oh, Miss Miller, we Googled you, and we don't feel like you'll be a good representation for the company. And he pulled the offer. I was supposed to start tomorrow.
Also, a lot of this is from a historical standpoint. There is a lot of historical context pre-Reconstruction, during the 1800s, before the Civil War. A lot of states, New York included, which I now live in, had things called black codes put into law, where they basically, a lot of black codes had very odd laws, but it was specifically for black people or BIPOC people, as they called it, or just free people. So even if you weren't enslaved, you were still supposed to follow these very random laws. So one of the most well-known black code that I think was in all of them, because I think only 5 states at the time did not have black codes. I think Tennessee and Maryland was maybe 2 of them. One was you were not allowed to gather in groups of 2 or more. So that was illegal, and that kind of goes to the whole thing of felons cannot be, or people who are convicted cannot be all together. But then there's also the ones where it's illegal to teach people how to read and write, and that was a $500 to $500 fine. So that's very specific things. So it's not just a lot of stuff you can say is because of Reconstruction, because they really did reconstruct a lot of things. But those things are also just very left over from slavery and that whole practice.
Yes, and I think that that's what makes this show so important, and this collaboration between Nadia and I so important, because it is the afterlife of slavery in the United States, right? There is no getting around it. There is a specific criminalization of the Black body in this country. There is a specific codification of criminalization in this country. When we look at something like the 13th Amendment, right? Slavery is abolished except in the cases where someone has committed a crime, and you immediately go from slavery to incarceration, and then the proliferation of incarceration, mass incarceration, and now even though we're seeing the reduction of incarceration, right? We're seeing technically less people in prison, but we're seeing rates of imprisonment still skyrocketing for particular populations. You start to recognize that all of this is not disconnected. Right? What it means to be disconnected from our homeland, what it means to be disconnected from culture, what it means to be forcibly taken and removed from homeland, and to still be forcibly turned into bodies instead of people here in the United States, it is all connected. And so what does it actually mean to live in the afterlife? And is it actually the afterlife of slavery? Aaliyah could go into the store and be followed because for no other reason other than her mom and her is black, and well, we have particular things about criminalization of blackness. Or Lillian can literally go to these runaway ads and create pieces, and people are still like, ooh, don't do that. We don't want you to, hold on, right? Or Ife can be, whether it's on the West Coast in California or encounter the same things in New York in terms of young people being locked away. Like, we start to see that all of this is connected, and we are on a continuum of criminalization, a continuum of systemic violence against a specific kind of body, which is not to say that it does not impact African people. It does not mean to say that it doesn't impact indigenous populations. It doesn't mean to say that it doesn't impact white people. But there is a specific criminalization of the Black body that then is applied to everybody else. So the message really is, just because Avery got a criminal record, or your mom got locked up, or whatever, it doesn't mean that it is isolated to them. It doesn't mean that the folks in front of you who are either directly impacted or by their family members are impacted, it is not isolated. It impacts all of us. Whether or not we ever are incarcerated, it impacts all of us, because then we all live in a space where surveillance and criminalization is embedded into everything that we do. Whether it's incarceration, whether it's housing, whether it's public benefits, whether it's healthcare, right? Black women are dying in the long durations, pushing out babies. Why is that happening? It's not by happenstance, right? So, anyway, the point is, this space, these folks that you see in front of you, these artists, these creatives, these advocates, these activists, these artivists, right, are in these spaces really to amplify what it is that we all doing here for real. And when we about to celebrate the red, white, and blue next year, we might not, right? But there are institutions who are literally putting aside funding to talk about the greatness of the United States next year, 2026. Then the call is, so what do we do about that? How do we interrupt the narratives of celebration that are about to occur and really amplify these voices, right? Okay, I'm gonna stop chatting because we also have to wrap up, but I wanna leave it open for questions from the audience. Nani, before anything you wanna say specifically about Nature's Bomb and like just things.
I get frustrated having conversations like this. Felicia and I used to work at the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice in New York City. So this work that you guys are still doing is very near and dear to my heart, to the point that I don't want to cry. But I also mentioned in my video, I had to leave the job because of the burnout. Being a Black person, trying to work for other Black and brown people was really hard in a system that doesn't want to recognize me as a person trying to do that work, or who would intentionally put blocks up for me to not be able to do that work. And it's not to say that I've forgotten about it or I'm not still doing work. I had to remove myself from the ways in which I was doing the work because it was killing me. So Nature's Bomb is because I had to find freedom for myself. I had to liberate myself in order to want to, or be able to still have fight in me to help liberate other people. So as Felicia was saying, it's not isolated. I spent over 15 years going back and forth to visit family members in prison who their families weren't even going to see them. It's my uncle, their baby moms, their kids, none of them were going to see them. So I spent over 15 years of my life going back and forth to prison, sending care packages to an uncle when I grew up in the projects in a single parent household. My mom didn't have it like that, but she made sure to always make sure that he had money on his books, that he had food. And to experience that at such a young age, juxtaposed to me experiencing for my first time going to Africa at 3 years old to Nigeria with my mom, what it meant to be free as a Black person in Africa, but then coming back home to the projects and constantly still going to prisons to visit family members, it didn't make sense to me. So I think that little seed has always been planted in me that, yes, I can still do this fight while I'm here in America and New York, but also there's another fight that I have to still continue to do. And my purpose now is to bring more people together for us to find healing, to be in community, and to liberate ourselves in whatever way that looks like for us. But my path is specifically in bringing us back home to Senegal, to Gambia, to other parts of Africa, so that people can see themselves in other people and connect in a different way. So, yeah. I have nothing else to say. Okay, you have questions? Okay.
So this question is for any person or candidate that works currently with young people. In a society, in a culture that currently reflects standing on business, and confrontation on a very consistent basis, what are your conversations like with young people to get them to change their mindsets, or at least adjust them so that they don't end up in these spaces and kind of glorify those things that are currently being done?
I'm a theater arts teacher at a charter school in Newark, New Jersey. I work with majority Black and Brown students. So with theater, I feel that I'm able to dive into social, emotional learning and development. What I've noticed just being a teacher and seeing these students, because I'm connected to a elementary school and a middle school, and they are very reactive and very angry. In the school, we have a program called Zones of Regulation, where there's 4 different zones displayed by color. So they have red, which is angry, yellow is calm or nervous, or sorry, it's not calm, it's anxious, nervous. Blue is sad or tired, and green is happy or focused. So with theater, I tap into the different emotions and I help the children identify these emotions and have them tap into them to where they're able to see an emotion only lasts 60 seconds. After that, it's then a choice. So when they're able to understand that they can tap into all these different types of emotions, when they're actually in the real emotion, they can understand that they can take a stop, they can take a deep breath, and that they can calm themselves down. So I have worked with kindergarten through 4th grade, and working with the babies. You know, we have a corner in the classroom called a cozy corner, where I would go over what the zones of regulation is at the beginning of the school year, and we would talk about it throughout the year, to where when they were able to identify their emotions, they were able to get up and go into the cozy corner to regulate themselves and come back to class. And just being able to see that when they're taught these skills of how to actually identify that they're feeling sad, that they're feeling embarrassed, that they're feeling angry, that it's not just anger. It's not just anger. And oftentimes they feel that whatever is happening inside, my stomach is feeling some type of way, something's happening in me, I don't know how to identify with it, and I'm just gonna lash out. Exploring and understanding the emotions is what has brought joy to me, just to be able to see you can be in control of this. You have to be able to identify it. And when you identify it, then you can ask yourself, okay, do I want to stay here? After those 60 seconds and you've dealt with that emotion, now I've taken my deep breath. What am I going to do now? Am I going to sit in it, or am I going to go back to my chair and finish my work? So that's my thoughts. And just speaking with them, you know what? It's oftentimes they don't get that conversation or even the apologies from adults. You know, we don't take the accountability. I am a very theatric person in my classroom, and when I'm wrong, I apologize. I don't care how old you are. You could be 3 years old. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Do you forgive me? You know, like, those conversations are needed because they're people. They're little people, but they're people. And they have real emotions, and they know how to express themselves if you allow them to.
My name is Kishada Denny. I'm the director of education and curriculum for an organization called Exalt Youth out of New York City. We work with young men and women between the ages of 15 and 19 who are implicated under the criminal legal system. So these young people could be doing anything from being on probation for hopping a turnstile, or we're serving young people who are facing 10, 15 years of incarceration due to attempted murder. Our success, I feel like, is rooted in our curriculum, right? I think a lot of these young men, young women are navigating many of the same things we did when we were the ages that we were when they was that age, right? You're dealing with peer pressure, they're dealing with their identity, how to develop that. And most of what they're learning, most of the things that they're learning themselves through are pop culture, right? So it's the music they're listening to, it's the TV shows that they're watching, social media, right? These different things. And so a lot of our curriculum leans on the things that they're utilizing as building blocks for their identity, to teach them to critically to have critical the competency to critically think around the things that they're digesting, right? An example of that would be we're talking about standing on business, right? In the orientation of our curriculum, right? Students are watching the episode from Baddies, right? And we have 4 skill sets that our curriculum is built around. So that's critical thinking, creative problem solving, communication, right? Resource management, right? And we may have them watch this particular episode and ask specific questions, poignant questions around why somebody like Natalie made a decision that she made, right? And help them to really go through these different elements to figure out why those kind of choices are being made, but then also helping them to see that depending on those decisions, what type of consequences are coming out of that, right? And I've learned that when you are being intentional about the things that they not only care about, but when you are also giving credence to why they're making the decisions that they're making, right, they're more willing to listen, right? And it humanizes you as an educator as well, because it makes them feel as though, right, like you understand that they're navigating something that's much larger than what they see in themselves, right? A lot of their decisions are being made because of the people who are in their purview, right? Like the social conditioning of it all. If I don't make these decisions, what is this going to mean to my friend group? What this is going to mean to X, Y, and Z? And so in the real way, we're teaching them to be strong and to stand on business of their personal identities, right? So that they could walk in their own light without the influence of those who are right on the left and the right of them. And I think that that's in building those competencies and those skill sets.
For me, working with the youth, it would just, after emotional regulation, after the cognitive behavioral therapy, it would be really giving them a different business. You know, like standing on business, like I'm in the business of building my character. And that's what I try to put into the youth that I work with. I work with at-risk youth in our community, young Black males, the ages from 14 to 24, but 34, 35-year-olds end up in my office too. But yeah, I really, me personally, like, these are strengths that these young boys are displaying. Like, these are skill sets, these are habits, patterns, and practicing that we need as a body, but they're misdirecting it, they're using it in the wrong form. I'm not trying to make them into passive young men that don't know how to defend their families. What I'm trying to do is teach them how to work their way through the cognitive process, how to emotionally regulate their emotions. And that first comes with accepting that this is how I react. Like, this is natural. I have a need, I have a void, I have a space that nobody's paying attention to. You see what I'm saying? Like, taking that time to really understand them. But yeah, I don't try to switch the behavior, I switch the why. You know, like, if your family's at jeopardy and you break in my house, I expect you to display all the behaviors you displaying right now in this street. But I don't want you to do this. I don't want this to be your go-to just because this is what the street expects. This is the only thing you've been exposed to. Like, I don't want to take that protective factor from you, you know? And yeah, just everything they doing in conjunction with it, just switching their focus. Do you work with youth?
Yeah, I've been educated for the past 20 years. A lot of work together. In this, and oddly enough, one of our students worked with me. And so we deal with it. We end up being the ones who they call because they're afraid to call their parents when the police come and all the other things. I just left my work, which was super hard, but a lot of it had to do with me knowing that the way that they're being taught, right? And so the question was for me, but it was kind of also for everybody else who are currently raising children, whether their own or others, to kind of hear other perspectives.
So I'm going to come at this from my way. First, I am a museum educator, and I'm currently the family programs coordinator at the Brooklyn Museum. So I do all the stuff with families, and I restructured the whole program to be centered around the African philosophy of Ubuntu, which closely translated in English is I am because we are. And I do this because I have absolutely no aspirations to have children of my own. I will be the fun auntie, and that's okay. I already got the glasses for it. But because of that, with working in an institution, and I'm pretty lucky to work in an institution like the Brooklyn Museums, like every museum, it has its own special quirks and problems, but it is very much, it's like down the street from Bed-Stuy. So right next to a historical Black neighborhood. It's great. But one of the things with that is we have so many different people who come to the institution, and I get to be the one in charge of how can I introduce a 2-year-old to a Kehinde Wiley painting and make them love it. And in doing so, a lot of my programs, since I have started this job, I've restructured to really take into account the child is the artist, the adults are just helping them figure out their medium. And I know that sounds like it's not doing a lot for them, but it is, because they become really strong in figuring out ways that feels best for them, or they're most comfortable with expressing their emotions, expressing how they're feeling about stuff. We don't really censor our students, or at least I don't with my programming, when it comes to them making a project. I've never done that, even when I was a part-time school teacher. I generally will have students be like, I don't want to make a batik, I want to make a painting of a dog. And I'm like, figure out how to make a dog out of a batik. I don't know what to tell you. And then they do it, and then they go to art school, and I get to brag about it. But specifically at the museum, I'm very much working for our programming to give them the voice. But not only is that with the younger ones, so 2 to about 6, 8 years old, we have teen interns, and I don't always work picking the teen interns who get to be a part of it, but I do work with them every Sunday because they help support my programming to the point where they think I'm cooler than their supervisor, which I'm cool with that. But with the teens, because they're coming in and they're having to do public speaking, they're having to interact with young children that they don't know, and they only see them for an hour a day and stuff like that, but very much helping them be able to put into words, what is this artist doing and why is that important? How can you encourage a kid to keep trying? Because around the age of 3, a lot of children get it in their head that if it doesn't look perfect, it's wrong. And so they come to our classes, and I kind of go, if it doesn't look perfect, it's great. And that's helping them to really kind of help with the social emotional regulations, but also just feel confident when they see something that's wrong and they don't agree with it. And I don't shy away from talking to them about specific artworks. It depends on the artwork. I'm not going to show them if it has a hanging in it, I'm not going to go to that. But we will go to things that are talking about really hard topics. We had Spike Lee had a show, and it was about his whole all the movies he's ever made. And if you've seen a Spike Lee movie, you know some of those are really hard to talk with kids. But we talked with them about what all of these different movies mean and what they're trying to talk about, how they're depicting Bed-Stuy down the street and things like that, how you can really hone in on your community and that can help build you up. And it works with our teens, it works with our youngers, but they start to develop their voice. And they don't feel like they have to go with the flow of what everybody else is doing. They feel like they can actually speak their mind more comfortably. So that's from my perspective of someone who will remain child-free, but wants to help the children to be able to speak their mind and be able to express themselves. It also goes with making sure they see artists like them. I generally, at my job, don't tell all the kids I'm an artist, but I do take them to different artists, and I have seen firsthand the impact. I once had a student who I didn't realize was Korean. I showed them a Korean artist named Nanjun Paik, and I mentioned offhandedly, okay, so this is our artist, they're from Korea. And all of a sudden, because this was on Zoom, she started speaking in rapid Korean and pulling her parents over to the screen to see the artwork. And she was really, really into it. And for the rest of that camp, like Zoom camp session, every day she always made something inspired by them. So like giving them the chance to actually see adults who are from their background, who are similar to them, they get really into it and they latch onto it and realize there's different ways for them to express themselves.
So we're out of time, and I want to be I want to be respectful because folks have been here for a few hours, and we could keep going all night. But what I want to do to close us out real quick, let's go rapid fire around the circle. Tell folks your name, your medium, point out your stuff on the wall, and where they can find you.
My name is Alora Best, based in Virginia. My two pieces are these black and white ones behind me. You can find me on Instagram at Adamaya Art. ADEMAIYA_art, where I post about my work, but I also teach back home and do what we call creative play and getting people to tap into that creative spirit and using it as a way of relief and escape and just exploration. But yes, please follow me and stay connected.
I'm Brittany Scott. My Instagram is BRIT, my name, that paints. I'm a Washington, D.C., Southeast native and artist. Oh, sorry. My work's behind me with the caution tape and the police person and all that good stuff.
My name is Lillian Young. I'm a Black historical artist. I'm a painter who moonlights as a printmaker. So I usually say my work are the 4 portraits over there. Honestly, the easiest way, because my Instagram is too many L's in it, if you just Google the name Lillian Young, I'm the first thing, so you'll find me.
Thank you guys for rocking with us today. My name is Aaliyah Pierre Cranston. I am the art. You can find me on Instagram at Aaliyah, A-L-I-A, Pierre, P-I-E-R-R-E-C, Aaliyah Pierre C.
I'm Tashoy Miller. I'm again based in Queens, New York. I work for the Women's Community Justice Association in New York City. I'm the director of operations there. So if you are a New York City-based org, connect with us. The Instagram is Women's CJA.
Avery Muldrow, Wilmington, North Carolina. I work for Lynx. You can find me anywhere on the Lynx website. Working for Light Manhood, Brother to Brother program. Oh yeah, I wrote a book, Stay Dangerous. Yeah. Yeah. I wrote a book, Stay Dangerous. It's about coming out of the shadows, turning from the butler to the boss. You can find it on Amazon. It's also on Kindle. Yeah.
Frankie Roberts, best to find us on the website, lincnc.org. And my new medium, and I mentioned this, is we were donated a decommissioned fire station that we are turning into a boarding school for African-American boys 15 to 18 who've dropped out of school.
That's beautiful. Good evening. My name is Nandi K. You can find my work over there where it says Nature is Balm. I'm the founder of Nature is Balm. Also, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Nature is Balm. Oh, and I got a website. And if you're interested in going on a birthright trip to Senegal and the Gambia, feel free to come talk to me. I'd be happy to take anyone that's willing and ready to go. Oh, wait. And if you're not willing and ready to go, because I know some people have some trepidations, I'd be happy to set up a Zoom call to talk to you, to just answer all your questions and see if we can assuage whatever might be going on.
Yeah, she's incredible, you guys. Okay, my name is Deja Denny. My Instagram is Love Dej. If you want to see some art from your girl, you can find me on YouTube. I have a short series that I did write, produce, direct with my husband. It's called Raven and Quiche. It's about love. We have a production company called Love's Perspective. You can find that on Instagram as well as Love's Perspective. But my Instagram is LOVEDEJ. Okay, I do a lot of stuff, right? Like we are creative, so we express ourselves in so many different ways. But I also sew clothes. I have a clothing company called The Amethyst. I did make his pants. Yeah, you guys, thanks.
Keshada Denny, that's also on Instagram, KESHAD, last name ADENIYI. Poet, rapper, painter. My work is the piece over there with the flag in front of it.
And I am Felicia Henry Conte. You can find all my information at www.feliciahenry.com. And I think that's it. So thank y'all so very much. One more time for the artists, one more time for the panelists. And the biggest round of applause for yourselves. Give it up for yourselves. That's a Peasley. Give it up for yourselves. Real, yes. This would not be possible without y'all being here, communing with us, being in community, all those things. Also, my stuff is over there, by the way, I forgot, but my stuff is over there. But this would not be possible without you all being here, taking part, staying the whole time. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, I'm so proud. Nandi and I, yeah, we did it. We did it, and I'm very, very proud. I'm very, very proud. Yes. Yeah, I'm super, super, super grateful. So anyway, thank y'all so much. Please take the snacks and the drinks. I think we have to be out of here at like 6:30-ish. So do your final go around, all that jazz, talk to the people, get all the information. And thank y'all so much one more time.